The Awakening. In the dark reaches of space, far from the bustling worlds of the Galactic Coalition, an ancient ship lay dormant. This ship was known as the UHS Eternity, a human supercarrier that had been lost for centuries. Its hull was massive, glimmering with forgotten glory, covered in a layer of dust from the ages. It had once been the pride of humanity, a vessel designed to protect and explore the galaxy. But now it was silent, hidden away in a remote sector, where no one would think to look. On a nearby planet, a small crew of human explorers prepared for a mission. Captain Ilara was their leader. She was determined, with a fierce spirit and a reputation for bravery. Her crew respected her, even if they sometimes doubted her. They had been exploring abandoned ships for years, hoping to find something valuable among the ruins. But this time felt different. As Ilara and her team approached the Eternity, a shiver of excitement ran through her. The ship loomed larger as they got closer, and she felt a mixture of awe and curiosity. What secrets lay within its walls? What treasures had been lost to time? She could almost hear the whispers of its ancient crew, calling her to uncover their story. "Ready the scanners," Ilara ordered, her voice steady. Her crew moved swiftly, setting up their equipment to scan the ship for any signs of life or active systems. They had encountered derelict ships before, but this one felt special. As the scanners hummed to life, a bright light flickered on the ship's surface. Suddenly, the scanners beeped wildly. "Captain, we're picking up energy readings," shouted Leo, the ship's engineer. His eyes widened with surprise. "There's power coursing through the systems." Ilara's heart raced. "Can you determine the source?" she asked, her excitement growing. Leo concentrated on the readings. "It looks like the main reactor is still active. It's a miracle that it hasn't shut down after all this time." "Let's board," Ilara commanded. "Prepare for any surprises." The crew nodded, and they boarded the Eternity with caution. As they stepped inside, a wave of nostalgia washed over Ilara. The interior was grand, with corridors that once bustled with activity. Now it was eerily quiet, the only sound being their footsteps echoing against the metal floor. Ilara activated her flashlight, illuminating the dark passageways. The walls were adorned with faded murals depicting great battles and heroic deeds. Memories of humanity's past filled her mind, igniting a sense of purpose. They were not just exploring a ship, they were reconnecting with their history. As they moved deeper into the ship, Leo and the other crew members scanned the control room. They'd reached a large chamber with a central console covered in dust. Ilara stepped forward, her heart pounding. She brushed the dust away, revealing a sleek interface with buttons that still glowed faintly. "Let's see what we can do," she said, trying to keep her excitement in check. With a few taps, the console flickered to life, filling the room with a soft blue light. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. The crew jumped in shock, and Ilara's heart sank. "What did I do?" she exclaimed. Leo quickly checked the systems. "It looks like we've triggered the ship's awakening protocol. The Eternity is coming back to life." Before Ilara could respond, the walls of the chamber began to shake. They all struggled to keep their balance as the ship started to power up. The lights flickered on, revealing the majestic control room in all its glory. It was filled with ancient technology that hummed with energy. As the ship stirred, the console displayed a holographic map of the galaxy. Ilara stared at it in amazement. "This ship was built for exploration, and it knows the galaxy like the back of its hand," she whispered. But her excitement was short-lived. A warning flashed on the console. "Unauthorized access detected. Alerting Galactic Coalition." "What does that mean?" one of her crew members asked, panic rising in their voice. "It means we're not alone," Ilara replied grimly. She knew the Galactic Coalition was always watching, always seeking power. They would not let an ancient human supercarrier fall into the hands of anyone but themselves. The console emitted a loud beep, and a voice crackled through the speakers. "Intruders detected. Prepare for defense protocols." Ilara felt a chill run down her spine. "We need to get out of here. Now," she shouted, urgency fueling her voice. The crew raced back to their ship, their hearts pounding. But as they reached the hangar bay, they noticed something astonishing. The Eternity had begun to move. Its engines roared to life, and it began to ascend, breaking free from its centuries of slumber. "Look, it's flying," Leo shouted, his eyes wide with disbelief. The ship, once dormant and forgotten, was now a formidable force. It soared into the sky, and Ilara's heart swelled with pride. Humanity's greatest creation was alive again. But in the depths of space, a fleet of alien ships emerged from the shadows, alerted by the awakening of the Eternity. They were part of the Galactic Coalition, and they would not let this opportunity slip away. As Ilara looked at the approaching ships, she knew that the fight for humanity's future had just begun. The Eternity was not just a ship, it was a beacon of hope. And she, Captain Ilara, was determined to protect it at all costs. With resolve in her heart, she turned to her crew. "We're going to show them what humanity can do. Let's get ready to fight." The UHS Eternity had awakened, and with it, the spirit of humanity was reborn. The galaxy would soon learn that the ancient human supercarrier was a force to be reckoned with. Rising tensions. As the UHS Eternity soared through space, Captain Ilara stood at the helm, her heart racing with a mixture of exhilaration and fear. The ancient ship felt powerful beneath her command, but looming threats from the Galactic Coalition hung in the air like a storm cloud. "Captain, the alien fleet is gaining on us," Leo reported from his station, sweat trickling down his brow. "They've identified us as a human vessel and are preparing to intercept." Ilara took a deep breath, her mind racing. The Coalition would not let this chance slip away. They had spent decades hunting for remnants of humanity's past, and now they had stumbled upon a treasure. The Eternity was not just a ship, it was a symbol of humanity's resilience and ingenuity. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," she ordered, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. "We need to put some distance between us and them." The crew sprang into action, their training kicking in. Ilara watched as Leo manipulated the controls, navigating the ship with precision. The Eternity responded with agility, its ancient systems working in harmony with the modern technology the crew had brought on board. "Hold on," Leo shouted as he pulled the ship into a sharp turn. The vessel swerved, narrowly avoiding a volley of energy blasts from the alien ships. Alarms blared, and the lights flickered, but Ilara remained focused. She needed to keep her crew calm. "Status report," she called out. "Their weapons are more advanced than we expected, but our shields are holding," Leo replied, glancing at the console. "If we can just get to the asteroid belt ahead, we might have a chance to lose them in the debris." "Do it," Ilara commanded, gripping the armrests of her chair as the ship banked sharply. The view outside was a blur of stars and approaching enemy ships. As they neared the asteroid belt, Ilara felt a surge of hope. The chaotic environment would give them cover, but they had to be careful. One wrong move could lead to disaster. "Entering the asteroid field now," Leo announced, his fingers flying over the controls. The ship maneuvered deftly through the floating rocks, their jagged surfaces reflecting the starlight. Ilara watched the approaching enemy vessels, their sleek designs cutting through space like predators. The Coalition was relentless, and she knew they wouldn't back down easily. She had to come up with a plan. "Let's split up," she said suddenly. "If we scatter, we can confuse them and make it harder for them to track us." "Are you sure that's a good idea?" Leo hesitated, his eyes flickering with doubt. "We need to take risks," Ilara replied, determination burning in her eyes. "I'll lead one group, and you take the other. We'll meet back at the rendezvous point once it's safe." Reluctantly, Leo nodded. "All right. Just be careful, Captain." The crew quickly divided into two teams, and Ilara took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. She knew this was their best chance, As they set off, she felt a mixture of fear and exhilaration. The fate of humanity rested on their shoulders. "Stay in touch," she reminded her team as they moved into separate paths through the asteroid field. Navigating through the dense cluster of asteroids was challenging. The ship rocked as they dodged floating debris, and Ilara's heart raced with every near miss. But she pushed forward, trusting in her instincts. Meanwhile, Leo piloted his group skillfully, taking advantage of the rocks to shield their movements. The tension in the air was palpable as they raced against time. Behind them, the coalition ships continued their pursuit, but the asteroids created a confusing maze. "Captain, they're scattering," one of Ilara's crew members shouted, pointing at the view screen. "They're trying to cut us off." "Stay sharp. Keep moving," Ilara shouted back, her voice firm. They needed to outmaneuver the aliens. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the ship. Alarms blared as the hull trembled beneath them. Ilara steadied herself, her heart pounding. "What was that?" she demanded. "An asteroid exploded nearby," Leo replied, his voice tense. "We're losing shields." "Divert power to the aft shield," Ilara commanded, her mind racing. They had to protect themselves at all costs. The crew worked together seamlessly, and Leo adjusted the power distribution. But the threat was growing. The alien fleet was closing in. "Captain, we've got incoming fire," another crew member shouted. Ilara tightened her grip on the controls, ready to respond. "We can't let them take us down. Prepare the forward cannons." "Captain, it's too risky," Leo warned. "We need to keep our speed up." As they entered a narrow passage between two massive asteroids, Ilara's heart raced. The moment felt electric. She fired the cannons, sending a barrage of energy blasts toward the pursuing ships. The explosions lit up the dark void, illuminating the battle before them. A few of the coalition ships veered off course, unable to navigate the asteroid field. But not all of them were deterred. One ship fired back, striking the Eternity on its port side. Ilara gritted her teeth as the ship shuddered. "We need to keep moving. Head toward the nearest asteroid cluster." Leo nodded, determination etched on his face. "I'm on it." As they weaved through the rocks, dodging and returning fire, Ilara felt a flicker of hope. They were fighting for their survival, and every moment was a testament to human resilience. But as they approached the outer edge of the asteroid field, Ilara glanced back. The remaining coalition ships were regrouping. This battle was far from over, and the Eternity would need every ounce of strength to prevail. With her crew by her side, Ilara vowed to fight until the very end. They had awakened an ancient force, and now it was their turn to prove that humanity could still stand tall against any adversary, no matter how daunting. The future of their race depended on it. The heart of the coalition. The UHS Eternity drifted cautiously through the asteroid field, the remnants of the battle still echoing in the crew's minds. Captain Ilara stood at the helm, her heart heavy with the weight of their recent skirmish. They had survived, but at what cost? The ship was battered, and the alien fleet was still on their tail. "Captain, we've managed to lose some of the pursuing ships, but there are still two that have locked onto our position," Leo reported, his fingers flying over the controls as he monitored the tactical display. Ilara frowned, her eyes scanning the view screen. "What's the status of our weapons and shields?" "Shields are down to 30%, and our main cannons need time to recharge. We're vulnerable right now," Leo replied, his voice strained. "We need to find a safe haven, somewhere they can't follow us," Ilara said, her mind racing. The coalition would not stop until they captured the Eternity, and she couldn't allow that to happen. Suddenly, the ship shook as a nearby asteroid exploded, sending debris flying through space. Ilara gripped the console, trying to keep her bearings. "Can we jump to hyperspace?" "Not yet," Leo said, his expression grim. "We need to make sure we're clear of the asteroid field first. The coalition could be waiting just outside." Ilara nodded, her resolve strengthening. They had to be smart about this. Let's get closer to the larger asteroid. We can use it for cover while we make our decision. With Leo guiding the ship, they maneuvered toward a massive asteroid, its surface rugged and uneven. As they neared, Ilara could see the faint glow of the coalition ships outside the field, their sleek forms gliding through the darkness. As they hid behind the asteroid, Ilara's mind churned with thoughts of the coalition. Why were they so determined to hunt humanity down? What threat did they perceive? The more she thought about it, the more questions arose. The coalition was known for its ruthless tactics, but Ilara knew there had to be a reason for their actions. "Captain, I'm detecting a transmission from the coalition ships," Leo said, pulling up the signal on the console. "They're discussing our encounter." Ilara leaned in, her heart racing. "Can you patch it through?" Leo nodded, his fingers tapping on the console. A moment later, the static cleared, and voices filled the cabin. How could they awaken such an ancient vessel? One voice questioned, laced with disbelief. "It's a relic of a time when humanity was thought to be extinct." "Focus. The eternity must be captured before it can regroup with other human forces," another voice ordered. "We cannot allow them to regroup. We need to crush this threat now." Ilara exchanged a worried glance with her crew. The coalition's desperation to capture the eternity confirmed what she feared. They viewed humanity as a significant threat, and they were determined to eliminate any possibility of resistance. "We need to move before they find us," Leo said urgently. "They'll be sending more ships soon." Ilara nodded, her heart racing. "Prepare for a jump to hyperspace. We need to get as far away as possible." Just as Leo began his calculations, the ship shook violently again. Alarms blared, and lights flickered. "Captain, they found us," Leo shouted, his voice tense. "Activate evasive maneuvers," Ilara commanded, her pulse quickening. "We have to get out of here." The ship lurched as Leo pulled back on the controls, steering the eternity away from the oncoming fire. Ilara felt the power of the ancient vessel beneath her, its engines roaring as it pushed forward. "Lock onto the nearest safe jump point," Ilara yelled, adrenaline surging through her veins. "Calculating now," Leo replied, sweat beading on his forehead. They could see the enemy ships closing in, their weapons charged and ready to fire. Ilara gritted her teeth, knowing they had to make the jump before it was too late. "Now," Ilara shouted, "engage the hyperspace drive." With a surge of energy, the eternity leaped into hyperspace, the stars outside stretching into bright lines as they hurtled away from danger. Ilara closed her eyes for a moment, letting out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. They had made it for now. As the ship emerged into normal space, the crew let out a collective sigh of relief. "What's our status?" Ilara asked, glancing at the readouts. "We're clear, Captain," Leo confirmed, though the tension still lingered in the air. "But we need to regroup and repair the ship. We're not safe yet." Ilara nodded, her mind still racing. "Find a nearby planet or moon where we can land. We need to make repairs and assess our situation." As they scanned the star charts, a small blue planet came into view. "There," Leo pointed, excitement in his voice. "That planet looks promising. It appears to be uninhabited." "Set a course," Ilara ordered, her heart pounding with renewed hope. "Let's get the eternity back in fighting shape." As they approached the planet, Ilara felt a mix of emotions. They were still in danger, but they had a chance to regroup and plan their next move. With the coalition hunting them, they had to be smart. But Ilara was determined to protect her crew and the legacy of humanity. Landing on the planet, they quickly got to work. Ilara could see the spirit of her crew shining through the challenges they faced. Together, they would face whatever the coalition threw at them. They had awakened an ancient force, and now it was time to show the galaxy what humanity was truly capable of. With hope ignited in their hearts, the crew prepared for the next stage of their journey. They would not back down. They would fight back against the coalition, not just for their survival, but for the very essence of humanity itself. Unveiling secrets. The UHS Eternity settled on the uninhabited planet, its hull humming softly as the crew prepared for repairs. Captain Ilara felt a sense of urgency but also hope. This was their chance to regroup, to become stronger. The ancient supercarrier had much to teach them, and they needed to learn quickly if they were to confront the relentless coalition. "Captain, we're going to need to repair the shields first," Leo said, studying the ship's diagnostics. "The power cells took quite a hit during our last encounter." "Agreed," Ilara replied, her voice steady. "Let's prioritize that. We also need to scout the area and ensure we're truly alone. Leo, take a team to check the perimeter." Leo nodded and assembled a small group of crew members. "We'll be back soon, Captain," he said before heading out of the ship. As the rest of the crew worked on repairs, Ilara took a moment to gaze out at the planet's surface. It was a stark landscape, with rocky formations and sparse vegetation. There was something ancient about this place, as if it had seen countless battles before. "Captain," came a voice from behind her. It was Sarah, the ship's engineer. "I've been going through the archives of the Eternity. There's something intriguing I think you should see." Curiosity piqued, Ilara followed Sarah to the ship's command center. The room was filled with screens displaying various data. Sarah pulled up a holographic display of the ship's history, revealing a timeline that extended back thousands of years. "This ship was part of a much larger fleet," Sarah explained, her finger tracing the display. "They were involved in significant conflicts, and this fleet vanished during a battle with the coalition. They believe humanity had been wiped out." Ilara's brow furrowed as she studied the data. "So this ship holds the key to our past." "Exactly. It seems that the Eternity might have hidden technology, possibly even strategies used in those ancient battles. If we can unlock this, it could give us an advantage against the coalition," Sarah said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Ilara felt a surge of hope. If they could access this ancient knowledge, it could change the tide of the conflict. "Let's dig deeper. What do we need to do?" Sarah brought up a series of schematics and blueprints on the holographic display. "We'll need to repair the ship's central computer to access the archives fully. That'll take time, but I believe it's worth it." "Then let's get to work," Ilara said. "We need to learn everything we can before the coalition finds us again." As the crew dove into repairs, Ilara organized a rotation to ensure they remained alert. They worked tirelessly, each member focused on their tasks, determined to restore the Eternity to its full glory. Hours passed, and Leo and his team returned from their scouting mission. "Captain, the perimeter is clear," Leo reported. "No signs of the coalition, but we did find some interesting materials that could be useful for repairs." "Good work," Ilara said, relieved. "We'll need every advantage we can get." With the crew working in unison, the ship began to regain its strength. The shields were coming back online, and the central computer was slowly being repaired. Sarah was in her element, guiding her team as they delved into the ship's forgotten archives. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Sarah called out, "Captain, we've unlocked the central archives. You need to see this." Ilara rushed to the command center, her heart racing. On the display was a swirling mass of data, ancient star maps, and detailed logs from the ship's previous crew. "What are we looking at?" Ilara asked, captivated. "This is a record of their encounters with the coalition," Sarah explained. "They noted the enemy's weaknesses and strengths, strategies used in battle, and even potential hiding spots where we could ambush them." Ilara's eyes widened with excitement. "Can we use this information to our advantage?" "Yes, but it will take time to analyze everything. We need to focus on the immediate threat first," Sarah replied, glancing at the readouts. "We have enough data here to strategize a counteroffensive, but we need to prepare first." The UHS Eternity settled on the uninhabited planet, its hull humming softly as the crew prepared for repairs. Captain Ilara felt a sense of urgency but also hope. This was their chance to regroup, to become stronger. The ancient supercarrier had much to teach them, and they needed to learn quickly if they were to confront the relentless coalition. "Captain, we're going to need to repair the shields first," Leo said, studying the ship's diagnostics. "The power cells took quite a hit during our last encounter." "Agreed," Ilara replied, her voice steady. "Let's prioritize that. We also need to scout the area and ensure we're truly alone. Leo, take a team to check the perimeter." Leo nodded and assembled a small group of crew members. "We'll be back soon, Captain," he said before heading out of the ship. As the rest of the crew worked on repairs, Ilara took a moment to gaze out at the planet's surface. It was a stark landscape, with rocky formations and sparse vegetation. There was something ancient about this place, as if it had seen countless battles before. "Captain," came a voice from behind her. It was Sarah, the ship's engineer. "I've been going through the archives of the Eternity. There's something intriguing I think you should see." Curiosity piqued, Ilara followed Sarah to the ship's command center. The room was filled with screens displaying various data. Sarah pulled up a holographic display of the ship's history, revealing a timeline that extended back thousands of years. "This ship was part of a much larger fleet," Sarah explained, her finger tracing the display. "They were involved in significant conflicts, and this fleet vanished during a battle with the Coalition. They believe humanity had been wiped out." Ilara's brow furrowed as she studied the data. "So this ship holds the key to our past." "Exactly. It seems that the Eternity might have hidden technology, possibly even strategies used in those ancient battles. If we can unlock this, it could give us an advantage against the Coalition," Sarah said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Ilara felt a surge of hope. If they could access this ancient knowledge, it could change the tide of the conflict. "Let's dig deeper. What do we need to do?" Sarah brought up a series of schematics and blueprints on the holographic display. "We'll need to repair the ship's central computer to access the archives fully. That'll take time, but I believe it's worth it." "Then let's get to work," Ilara said. "We need to learn everything we can before the Coalition finds us again." As the crew dove into repairs, Ilara organized a rotation to ensure they remained alert. They worked tirelessly, each member focused on their tasks, determined to restore the Eternity to its full glory. Hours passed, and Leo and his team returned from their scouting mission. "Captain, the perimeter is clear," Leo reported. "No signs of the Coalition, but we did find some interesting materials that could be useful for repairs." "Good work," Ilara said, relieved. "We'll need every advantage we can get." With the crew working in unison, the ship began to regain its strength. The shields were coming back online, and the central computer was slowly being repaired. Sarah was in her element, guiding her team as they delved into the ship's forgotten archives. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Sarah called out, "Captain, we've unlocked the central archives. You need to see this." Ilara rushed to the command center, her heart racing. On the display was a swirling mass of data, ancient star maps, and detailed logs from the ship's previous crew. "What are we looking at?" Ilara asked, captivated. "This is a record of their encounters with the Coalition," Sarah explained. "They noted the enemy's weaknesses and strengths, strategies used in battle, and even potential hiding spots where we could ambush them." Ilara's eyes widened with excitement. "Can we use this information to our advantage?" "Yes, but it will take time to analyze everything. We need to focus on the immediate threat first," Sarah replied, glancing at the readouts. "We have enough data here to strategize a counteroffensive, but we need to prepare first." Ilara nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. "Let's prioritize the Coalition's movements. If we can anticipate their next move, we might be able to outmaneuver them." As they began to sift through the data, Ilara felt a sense of camaraderie among her crew. They were more than just a team. They were family, united by a common goal. Each member brought their unique strengths, and together, they were stronger than any alien fleet. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the ship, interrupting their focus. "Captain, we have incoming ships," Leo shouted from the tactical station. "The Coalition has found us." Ilara's heart raced as she glanced at the display. Red blips were closing in fast. "Everyone, to your stations," she commanded, her voice steady despite the rising tension. "Prepare for battle." As her crew scrambled to their positions, Ilara felt a surge of determination. They had awakened an ancient supercarrier, and they were about to put its secrets to the test. The Eternity would rise to defend humanity, and they would not go down without a fight. With the knowledge of the past and the strength of their unity, they would face the Coalition head-on. The battle for their future was about to begin. The clash of titans. The UHS Eternity trembled as alarms blared throughout the ship. Ilara stood at the command console, her heart racing. She could see the red blips of the Coalition ships on the display, growing closer with each passing second. The crew was in a frenzy, adrenaline pumping through their veins. Shields at 80% and rising. Sarah shouted from her station, fingers flying over the controls as she worked to restore power. "We can hold them for now." "Good. Prepare weapons systems," Ilara commanded, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Leo, how many ships are we facing?" Leo scanned the tactical display, his expression tense. "Looks like 4 cruisers and 2 destroyers, Captain. They're closing in fast, and their shields are already powered up." Ilara clenched her fists, determination flooding her veins. "We need to hold our ground and buy some time. We'll use the tactics from the archives." "Leo, pull up the data we just accessed." Leo quickly brought up the strategies the previous crew had recorded, displaying tactics that had once taken down Coalition ships in the past. "I see a weak spot in their formation. If we can move fast enough, we can catch them off guard." "Let's do it," Ilara said, her voice resolute. "Sarah, get those shields up to full strength. We're going to need every bit of protection we can muster." As the crew worked feverishly to prepare for battle, Ilara's mind raced. She thought of her family back on Earth, of the friends she had lost. This was for them. They had awakened the Eternity, and now it was time to show the galaxy what humanity was capable of. "Captain, the Coalition ships are in range," Leo warned, his voice urgent. "They're about to fire." "Evasive maneuvers," Ilara shouted. "All hands, brace for impact." The Eternity jolted as the first shots fired from the enemy ships. Energy beams whizzed past, some striking the hull and causing the ship to shudder violently. Ilara gripped the console tightly, her heart pounding. "Shields holding at 70%. Sarah reported, her focus unwavering. "We can take a few more hits, but we need to fight back." "Fire back," Ilara commanded. "Target their lead cruiser." With a resounding thud, the Eternity's weapon systems roared to life. Turrets swiveled, unleashing a barrage of laser fire at the closest Coalition ship. The beams cut through the void, striking the enemy vessel and causing it to flare brightly. "Direct hit," Leo cheered, his eyes alight with excitement. "They're taking damage." "Keep it up," Ilara shouted, her spirit soaring. "Focus on their formations. We need to break them apart." As the crew rallied together, the battle raged on. The Eternity moved with grace, dodging enemy fire while returning shots. They were no longer just a ship. They were a force to be reckoned with. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocked the Eternity, sending the crew staggering. "Shields down to 40%. Sarah shouted, her voice strained. "We can't take many more hits like that." Ilara gritted her teeth, determination fueling her. "We need to change tactics. Leo, prepare a feint maneuver. Let's draw them into our line of fire." "On it," Leo replied, quickly adjusting the ship's course. As the Eternity veered to the side, the Coalition ships followed, eager to take advantage of what they thought was a weakness. But Ilara had anticipated their move. She grinned as the enemy cruisers closed in, their weapons charging. "Now," Ilara barked. "Activate the port side cannons." With a thunderous roar, the Eternity unleashed a torrent of energy beams. The surprise attack caught the coalition ships off guard, and two of the cruisers were hit squarely. Explosions rippled through their hulls, and debris scattered into the void. "Nice shot, Captain," Leo exclaimed, his excitement palpable. "Don't celebrate yet. We still have more ships to deal with," Ilara reminded, focusing on the battle ahead. The remaining coalition vessels regrouped, their strategy shifting as they realized the threat the Eternity posed. They began to fan out, trying to surround the human ship. "Captain, they're trying to encircle us," Sarah warned. "We can't let them." "Pull back and create space," Ilara commanded, her mind racing. "We need to use the Eternity's agility to our advantage." As the ship turned sharply, Ilara felt a rush of adrenaline. They were in a fight for their lives, and they needed to stay one step ahead. "Let's confuse them. Leo, can we create a false signal to mislead them?" "Absolutely," Leo replied, typing rapidly. "I'll project a false readout. They won't know which way to go." "Do it," Ilara urged, her heart pounding. Leo executed the plan, sending out a fake signal that indicated the Eternity was preparing to retreat to a nearby asteroid field. The coalition ships, now desperate to end the threat, followed the false readout. "Now's our chance," Ilara exclaimed. "Turn around and flank them." With a swift motion, the Eternity maneuvered back toward the enemy ships, catching them off guard as they broke formation. The crew fired relentlessly, targeting the isolated ships one by one. "Enemy cruiser down," Sarah shouted, a grin spreading across her face. Ilara felt a surge of triumph, but they were still not out of danger. The remaining coalition ships were beginning to realize the trap. They regrouped and prepared to fire back. "Prepare for a full assault," Ilara commanded, feeling the weight of the moment. "This is our chance to turn the tide." With renewed determination, the crew focused on their target. The Eternity unleashed a powerful barrage of energy beams, striking true. The remaining enemy ships were caught in the onslaught, shields faltering under the relentless attack. Direct hits on multiple targets, Leo reported, excitement in his voice. "They're taking heavy damage." Ilara's heart soared. "Keep pushing. We can win this." The tide of battle shifted as the coalition ships began to falter. One by one, they fell, unable to withstand the might of the Eternity. Ilara felt a sense of pride swell within her. They had awakened a powerful ship, and together, they were proving that humanity was not to be underestimated. Finally, the last coalition cruiser exploded in a brilliant flash, leaving nothing but debris in its wake. The Eternity stood victorious, battered but unbroken. "Status report," Ilara called, her heart racing with adrenaline. "Shields at 20%, Sarah said, panting but smiling. "We took some hits, but we're still operational." "Crew morale is high, Captain," Leo added, beaming. "We did it. We fought back." Ilara smiled, the weight of their victory sinking in. "We showed them what humanity is made of. But we can't let our guard down. We need to assess the damage and prepare for what comes next." As the crew celebrated their hard-won victory, Ilara knew this was just the beginning. They had awakened a Titan, and the Eternity was ready to defend humanity against whatever threats lay ahead. Together, they would rise, stronger than ever. The aftermath. As the dust settled from the fierce battle, the UHS Eternity floated amidst the wreckage of the defeated coalition fleet. Ilara took a deep breath, her heart still racing from the adrenaline of the fight. The crew had proven themselves, but now it was time to assess the damage and prepare for the next steps. "Report, everyone," Ilara called out, her voice steady despite the chaos of the past hour. She needed to understand the state of her ship and her crew before they could celebrate. Shields are down to 10%, Sarah said, her fingers dancing over the control panel. We need to initiate repairs right away. Several systems are offline, but we can manage them. Life support and environmental controls are stable, Leo added. He looked over the tactical display, frowning slightly. We did lose some power to the main engines, but we can reroute it from auxiliary systems. Good work, both of you, Ilara said, relieved. Let's get those repairs underway. We need to be ready for anything. The Coalition won't take this loss lightly. As the crew worked diligently, Ilara moved to the observation deck, gazing out at the remnants of the Coalition ships. She couldn't shake the feeling that this victory was only a temporary reprieve. They had made an enemy today, and she knew the Galactic Coalition would not let it go unchallenged. Captain, we're picking up a distress signal from a nearby colony, Leo called out as he joined her. They're reporting Coalition forces attacking them. Coordinates? Ilara asked, her heart sinking. She felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. Just a few light years away, Leo replied. They could be in real trouble, Captain. We need to respond. Ilara nodded, her resolve hardening. Set a course for the colony. We can't let anyone else suffer because of the Coalition. We'll provide whatever assistance we can. Understood, Leo said, his eyes shining with determination. But our shields are down, and we might not be able to face another battle right now. Then we'll use our speed and tactics to get there first, Ilara replied. We can arrive quickly, assess the situation, and engage only if necessary. We can't abandon them. Course plotted, Sarah shouted, her enthusiasm infectious. Let's move out, Captain. With that, Ilara returned to her seat at the command console, feeling the ship vibrate with renewed purpose. The crew operated with a sense of unity, their movements synchronized as they prepared for departure. She felt a surge of pride as she watched them work, knowing they were all in this together. As the Eternity surged forward, Ilara contemplated the challenges ahead. They were no longer just a ship, they were a symbol of hope for humanity. They had the power to make a difference, and she would not let that opportunity slip away. The journey to the colony was tense, with the crew focused on their tasks. They navigated through space, the stars stretching out before them. As they approached the coordinates, Ilara could see the faint glow of the colony ahead, nestled on a vibrant blue planet. Captain, I'm detecting Coalition ships in orbit, Leo reported, urgency in his voice. It looks like they're preparing for a ground assault. Then we need to act fast, Ilara replied, her mind racing. Sarah, can we get a visual on the surface? On it, Sarah said, her fingers flying over the controls. The main screen displayed the colony's surface, where chaos reigned. Buildings were on fire, and the inhabitants were fleeing in panic. Ilara's heart ached at the sight. We can't let this happen. Prepare for an orbital strike on the enemy ships. We'll give them a taste of their own medicine. Targeting systems online, Sarah announced, her voice steady. We're ready to fire on your command. Wait, Leo interrupted, concern etched on his face. What if we hit the colony by mistake? We can't risk harming innocent lives. Ilara nodded, realizing the truth in his words. You're right, Leo. We'll need to draw their fire away from the colony instead. Let's create a distraction. Captain, we can use the debris from the Coalition ships, Leo suggested, a spark of inspiration in his eyes. If we position ourselves correctly, we can use the wreckage to shield the colony while we engage the enemy. Excellent thinking, Ilara said, pride swelling in her chest. Set our course toward the wreckage. Let's go. The Eternity deftly maneuvered through the debris, positioning itself strategically between the Coalition ships and the colony. Ilara felt a renewed sense of determination wash over her. This was what they were meant to do: protect humanity and fight against tyranny. Target the nearest Coalition ship and fire when ready, Ilara commanded. The Eternity's cannons roared to life, launching a barrage of energy beams at the enemy ship. The surprise attack caught them off guard, and explosions lit up the darkness of space. Direct hit. Sarah cheered, her excitement contagious. They're taking heavy damage. Ilara's heart raced as they continued the assault. The coalition ships retaliated, firing back at the Eternity, but the crew remained focused. They dodged incoming fire, working together as a seamless unit. "Captain, the coalition is regrouping," Leo warned. "They're trying to flank us. Then we'll change the game," Ilara declared, her mind racing. "Sarah, prepare the jump to the colony's atmosphere. Jump in 3, 2, 1. Sarah counted down, and with a sudden lurch, the Eternity dove into the planet's atmosphere, the air rushing past as they descended. The coalition ships followed, but they were not as agile as the Eternity. Ilara felt the heat of re-entry, the ship trembling under the pressure. They needed to gain the element of surprise. "Hold tight," Ilara shouted. "We're going in low." As they skimmed the surface, Ilara could see the chaos below. The coalition forces were still assaulting the colony. She felt her heart swell with anger and determination. "Now," Ilara shouted, hitting the throttle. "Fire everything we have." A new dawn. The Eternity stood tall on the surface of the colony, its hull gleaming against the backdrop of the rising sun. The battle had been fierce, but thanks to Ilara and her crew, the coalition forces had been repelled. Now, as the dust settled and the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, a sense of calm began to wash over the colony. Ilara stepped down from the ship, her heart swelling with pride. The colony's inhabitants, still shaken from the attack, emerged from their shelters to witness the arrival of their unexpected saviors. Mothers clutched their children, and weary faces lit up with hope as they recognized the symbol of humanity's strength. "Captain Ilara, Captain Ilara," a voice called out, breaking through the silence. A young boy, no older than 10, rushed toward her, his eyes wide with admiration. "You saved us. You really did." Ilara knelt down to his level, a warm smile on her face. "We couldn't let anything happen to you or your home. You're safe now." The boy grinned, and for a moment, the weight of the galaxy felt lighter on Ilara's shoulders. She straightened up and surveyed the colony, taking in the sights of people beginning to regroup and rebuild. The threat had passed, but there was much work to be done. "Leo, Sarah, let's assess the damage and offer our assistance," Ilara called to her crew, who were already disembarking from the ship. "We need to help them recover." As they moved through the colony, Ilara could see the effects of the coalition's attack. Buildings were damaged and supplies were scattered. However, the resilience of the people shone through. Ilara watched as neighbors helped each other, working together to restore their community. "Captain," Leo shouted, waving her over. He stood beside a group of engineers examining a damaged power generator. "They could use our technical expertise." Ilara nodded, quickly joining the group. "What can we do to help?" One of the engineers, a middle-aged woman with dirt-smudged cheeks, looked up at Ilara. "We need to reroute power to the shelter and repair the generator before night falls. Otherwise, we'll be in the dark." "Let's get started," Ilara said, feeling the familiar thrill of action. "Sarah, help me gather the supplies. We'll need tools and parts." As they worked together, Ilara couldn't help but feel a bond forming with the colony's residents. They were strong, brave people who had endured so much and still stood tall. The more she learned about their community, the more she wanted to help them thrive. Hours passed as the crew of the Eternity and the colony's engineers collaborated, sharing knowledge and skills. They shared laughter amidst the labor, and as the generator roared back to life, cheers erupted from the gathered crowd. Ilara stood back, watching the faces of the people light up with joy. In that moment, she understood the importance of what they were doing. This was more than just repairing buildings or restoring power. They were rebuilding hope. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the colony, Ilara gathered her crew for a moment of reflection. "I'm proud of what we've accomplished today," she said, her voice filled with emotion. Together, we stood against the darkness, and we made a difference. We showed the coalition that we will not back down. Leo nodded, a grin on his face. And we've gained new allies in the process. This colony will remember what we did here. Ilara smiled, feeling a sense of unity among her crew. Let's celebrate our victory tonight. We deserve a moment of joy after everything we've faced. As night fell, the colony came alive with lights and laughter. They gathered around a large bonfire, sharing stories of bravery and resilience. Ilara felt the warmth of the flames and the camaraderie of the people, a feeling she had longed for since awakening the eternity. A young girl approached Ilara, clutching a small wooden figurine. "Captain, this is for you," she said shyly, holding it out with both hands. "It's to remember you by. You're our hero." Ilara's heart swelled as she accepted the gift, touched by the gesture. "Thank you, little one. I'll cherish it always."